Hello and good evening. Welcome, everyone. I am Dylan Stafford. I'm an assistant dean here at UCLA Anderson with the fully employed MBA program. I am one of your co-hosts tonight, and we're just really excited that you are with us to experience this Leadership Lab number 2. We're going to jump right in. We said we would start at 5:30 California time, so we're going to do that. I want to make sure that people are able to just jump on into the room. So thank you for being here. I was going to just say this will be fun for a naming convention. I'll put this in the chat. If you don't mind, just take a second and name yourself, your name, your program, we have 10 different UCLA grad programs here tonight, and what city you're in currently. Just kind of fun. And so we'll start with that. So let me jump right in. People are going to continue to join. But in the space of using your time effectively, we have 2 goals with the Leadership Labs. We actually have a couple more, but these are the main ones. The first one is 100% what is going to happen this fall. You've been admitted to UCLA, the #1 public research university in the world. We are honored to have your graduate journey happening here at UCLA. And what if you have your best academic term ever this starting of your graduate journey? And I know who I'm talking to. I know you're highly accomplished human beings. What if this start of program is your best academic term ever? What if you don't survive this fall, but you thrive this fall? Okay, so that's one goal. We want to empower you. We want to get a little wind beneath your wings. And then the second thing, to quote our famous coach, John Wooden, failing to prepare is preparing to fail. So here we are, June 6th. We have 10 different programs, 10 different start dates, but roughly, let's just for the thought experiment, call it 100 days. You got 100 days between now and the start of the fall. What if you do some work to get your house in order, right? Get a great foundation, mind, body, spirit, and what we're going to talk about tonight, your being. We're going to talk about being tonight. So those are 2 of the goals, and we are thrilled you're here. And tonight represents the culmination of about 6 years of cross-campus partnering. This is the quick history of the Leadership Labs. Dr. Cooper, who I'm going to introduce you to in a moment, who's tonight's primary guest speaker, she and I started this 6 years ago with the fully employed MBA program students. And then we added our executive MBA, our Master of Financial Engineering, Public Health, and David Geffen School of Medicine in the second year. The third year, we added social welfare, dentistry, and nursing. And the last 2 years, we've been thrilled to include theater, film, and television, and Samueli online engineering. So tonight is a culmination of 6 years of partnering across campus. And you're going to get to have breakouts, 2 breakouts tonight, where you'll get to be randomly mixed with people from across UCLA. And then lastly, we have 259 RSVPs tonight from these 10 graduate programs: FEMBA, EMBA, social welfare, nursing, financial engineering, David Geffen School of Medicine, public health, theater, film, and television, engineering, and dentistry. I think I don't have that listed there. So we're just really, really happy to have this collaboration. So I have a few of the committee members here tonight. Some of them you met last time. Some of them send their regrets in absentia. But we're a loose diaspora partnering across campus from the 10 programs. And I don't want to leave anybody out. So I know Liz is here. Liz, would you like to start us off by adding a word of welcome?
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Liz Izquierdo. I'm the Associate Dean for the School of Nursing and Student Affairs, and just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope you have enjoyed so far the first lab that you've been a part of. And it's just been unique to see how this is unfolded and how this is providing a unique opportunity for people to network across various health schools, professional schools, and it was never done before. So thanks to the vision of Dylan and Khush for making this happen. So welcome.
Thank you, Liz. Thanks for being one of our inaugural founders. I don't think I got regrets from everybody else, but in case I'm missing anybody else on this slide who's here tonight, I think I got regrets from everyone. Okay, so on the next slide, just some friends who are also in the background who support us. Dr. Nicholas, Suzanne Nicholas has been one of our founding members, as is Sarika Thakur. They don't administratively run programs, but they've helped us launch this leadership lab, and Mark and Christina. And I do know that Daniel is here tonight. Daniel, would you like to add a welcome, please?
Yes, I'm happy to do it, Dylan. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this. It's my first time going through it. It's very exciting. And congratulations to everybody that's in the chat for joining our Bruin family. Very excited to have you as a part of our wonderful campus. Don't hesitate to reach out to the Division of Graduate Education if there's anything we can ever do to help or support you. That is our job and our pleasure. I'm very much looking forward to tonight's session. I hope you get a lot out of it. I'm sure I will as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. It's really been fun getting to have your partnership. Okay, any other committee member on that slide? Don't think so. I'm not sure if Gonzalo got to make it or not. Gonzalo is the man I report to. He's the associate dean of the fully employed, the executive MBA, and our partner MBA with National University of Singapore, but I don't think Gonzalo's here. So Gonzalo is the kind of our background patron who's really given me the carve out for time to create this with Dr. Cooper. So with no further ado, I'll now introduce Dr. Khush Cooper, and I'll hand the proceedings over to her. But just as a quick thumbnail, Dr. Cooper, or Khush, you can call her Khush from here forward tonight, is a real wonderful cross-campus partner in my own growth and development. I did her course back in 2016 to test it out for participation for MBA students. And about 2 weeks into the course, I said, well, I'm not going to just sit here with a checklist and evaluate. I'm just really going to do the course. And it really, I discovered some real powerful access to really putting a new chapter into my own MBA. And that was 8 years ago. That was actually winter quarter 2016. And she and I became partners across campus. And in 2018-19, as I showed on the other slide, we launched the leadership labs. And I now am co-teaching this. The material you're going to hear tonight is from her leadership course called Being a Leader. And I now teach that with her. But this leadership lab tonight, this is all pro bono, dedicated, donated time from her. And just a really amazing human being. We both share being parents. I have 2 children. She has 3. We both share wanting to make a world where people listen to each other, where people coordinate across disciplines and are not slowed down by artificial barriers like for-profit or not-for-profit or business versus social welfare, but rather, it's a big, complicated world that we're living in right now. And all of us want to make this world work. And it's probably going to be solutions that are outside the box. They're going to help us get where we need to get. And we're trying to practice what we preach and really demonstrate that. So she's an expert in child welfare. She works with LGBTQ children in the foster care system. She's an advocate, spends a lot of time in Sacramento, runs an entire consultancy on the side, not on the side. She runs an entire consultancy full-time dedicated to making a difference in our foster care system. And she's an assistant adjunct professor here at UCLA. So with no further ado, let me welcome Khush Cooper.
Thank you, Dylan. Welcome, everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, depending on wherever you are. Dylan, just thank you for this partnership. And Daniel and Liz, the leadership community at UCLA is one that I really prize. Folks that are committed to cultivating leaders, cultivating themselves as leaders, and I'm honored to be along for the ride with all of you. All right, so Dylan, let's get into it.
Let's get into it.
All right, so Dylan just mentioned that the material that you're about to experience, and I mean that, experience, not understand, not figure out, but experience, right? So just sit in your chair, sit back, don't worry about notes. We'll give you the slides. experience it. Okay, be with it. So the course is called Being a Leader and the Effective Exercise of Leadership, an ontological phenomenological model. Those are, as I shared at the last lab, $15 words, which all academics love to put after colons and titles. So there you have it. Ontological goes with the first part of the title, the being a leader. Ontology is the study of being. Okay, so the course is about what is it to be a leader? And in order to inquire into what it is to be a leader, you do have to inquire into what it is to be at all, and not be in the I'm lotus position on a mountaintop in kind of the new age sense, but what is it to be in the world? So what is it to be in the world as a leader? That's the ontological part. And the phenomenological part goes with the effective exercise of leadership. As a phenomenon, when I am experiencing effective leadership, right, either leading or being led, like what is it, first person as lived on the court in the moment, what is it that I'm experiencing? What is a phenomenon? So that's why we call it an ontological phenomenological model. And those are the date this is our 6th year doing this course. It is virtually online, 9 mornings over 3 weekends in the summer, 8 to 1:30 p.m. And all the information about the course and the details and the logistics are at that website there, beingaleader-ucla.com. Right. Next slide, please, Dylan. If you were going to cite this presentation, here's the citation you would use. In the course, we use a slide deck textbook that's over 1,000 slides, which Dylan reads for us. He is one of the probably 5 people in the world certified to read the slides correctly. These are the authors of the course. Go ahead, Dylan. So we're going to start with and pull on our experience from the last leadership lab. Okay, and for those of you that weren't able to attend, this can serve as a way to catch you up to the conversation. Okay, we talked about the power. Well, we didn't talk about. We looked together at the power of integrity and what integrity can make available in one's life. So this is a review. All right, go ahead, Dylan.
What is integrity for a person? Integrity for a person is a matter of that person's word, nothing more and nothing less. For a person to have integrity, the word of that person must be, as integrity is defined in the dictionary, whole, complete, unbroken, unimpaired, sound, in perfect condition.
Okay, so none of this is the truth. So that's one thing we should establish, right? Don't believe what I say, right? I'm going to make assertions or invite you to consider something, and then I'm going to have you go try. I want you to go try it out in your life, or sitting in your seat today, look in your experience and check it out. Okay. So back to the slide, Dylan. Okay, so I'm asserting, Dylan and I are asserting that, and we're inviting you to consider that integrity is a matter of a person's word. And we're inviting you to consider that, right? Nothing more, nothing less. And if you take that on for now, we're bringing the dictionary definition to that matter of word. So for a person to have integrity, as Dylan just said, we're asserting that the word of that person must be whole, complete, unbroken, unimpaired, sound, etc. Okay, so we're inviting you to consider that. And this is answered what is integrity. Okay, it's a matter of your word, being whole, complete, unbroken, etc. Now we're going to define what's meant by word, this thing that integrity is a matter of. Go ahead, Dylan.
The question is, in the matter of integrity, what constitutes your word? Integrity, your word defined. 1, what you said you would do. 2, what you know to do. 3, what is expected of you, unexpressed requests of you by all those with whom you wish to have a workable relationship. 4, what you say is so. 5, what you say you stand for. 6, moral, ethical, and legal standards.
Okay. So imagine I say, Dylan, I will get you the report by close of business on Monday. You can count on me. I'm never late. Okay. So hang on a second. I got to put you all so I'm looking at you. There you go. Okay. So you can put the slide back up, Dylan. Go ahead and keep it up. What I said I would do, all right, was get the report to Dylan by close of business on Monday. All right? We commonly ascribe our word to those promises we make. Okay, so most people would agree that, oh yeah, my word is what I said I would do. Well, I told Dylan I'm going to get the report to him by close of Monday. He can count on me. I'm never late. Right? What folks tend to not be aware of, and that's the point of this slide, is your word is way more. To be effective here, one has to consider that one's word is way more than just what one said one would do. Right? It is, yes, what you said you would do. It is at least that, but it is also what you know to do. Okay, so in the matter of I'll get you the business by close of business on Monday, look, I know everybody's close of business is different. And we all play around with, well, my close of business is when my head hits the pillow and yours is 5 p.m. And, as long as it's close of business for me, I know to clarify what I mean by close of business. Right? I know, right? That's actually a matter of my word too. Actually being specific about what close of business would be. Okay. What is expected of me by all those with whom I wish I have a workable relationship. So Dylan would be one such person. Dylan likely expects that report at 5 p.m. I mean, this is the school of management, right? In the business world, 5 p.m. Right? So his expecting that report at 5 p.m. on Monday is expected of me. I could hold that as an expectation, as a probable expectation. So that's a matter of my word. So there's an example to get you to the 3 of those. And then what you say is so. In addition to those 3, what you say is so is also a matter of your word. Oh, you can count on me. I'm never late. Okay, well, I'm saying that's so. You should be able to verify that in your experience, in others' experiences, right? You shouldn't, if I say something like I'm never late, you shouldn't be able to recall experiences where I've been late. So if I say things like 40 to 60% of homeless youth are LGBTQ, right? You should be able to go verify that, right? That's what I say. So it's a matter of my word. What you say you stand for, I stand for children on the margins thriving. Right? If that's my stand, that's a matter of my word. Right? When I am participating in something that is having children not thrive, I'm out of integrity. That's a public stand I've taken. And then the moral, ethical, and legal standards, and there's a parenthesis here, of the groups in which you wish to enjoy membership. If you do not wish to enjoy membership in that group, don't worry about it. They're not a matter of your word. But if you wish to enjoy membership in the group, moral, ethical, and legal standards of that group, the citizen of a particular country, right, a member of a particular church, whatever, right, you adhere to those moral, legal, and ethical standards. Now, we don't, right? But when we don't, we have to be willing to accept the consequences of not adhering to those moral, ethical, and legal standards, right? And for them to not be a matter of our word, we have to expressly decline them. Right? Yeah. It's kind of like saying when you signed for your driver's license out loud that you plan to speed. All of you that signed for your driver's license, you're now part of a group called licensed drivers, and you are obligated to the rules in that manual. And not speeding is actually one of them. And when you speed, you and I are out of integrity. It's okay. All is not lost. And we'll tell you why in a moment. All right. So integrity is your word, the thing that's supposed to be whole, complete, unimpaired, unbroken, and perfect working condition. It's got to be that way with regard to all six, not just the ones you promised out loud, for you to be in optimal states of integrity. Okay. Go ahead, Dylan. So now more specifically, Dylan's going to tell us how integrity is related to one's word in our model. Go ahead, Dylan.
Integrity is honoring your word. And honoring your word is...
Hold on. Honoring, and I'm going to underline honoring, as opposed to what? As opposed to keeping. We're saying integrity is not keeping your word. That's intentional and deliberate. Integrity is honoring your word. Okay. And honoring your word is what Dylan's going to tell us. This collapse that integrity is keeping our word, not honoring our word, is one reason integrity becomes such a challenge for you and I. Right? Because we're holding integrity like, if I'm going to be somebody of integrity, I got to keep my word all the time. It's not possible. It's actually not possible to keep your word all the time. So wait, then I can't be a person of integrity? No, you can. You just have to honor your word. Okay, what's that? Go ahead, Dylan.
keeping your word and on time, or whenever you will not be keeping your word, just as soon as you become aware that you will not be keeping your word, including not keeping your word on time, saying to everyone impacted, A, that you will not be keeping your word, and B, that you will keep that word in the future, and by when, or that you won't be keeping that word at all, and what you will do to deal with the impact on others of the failure to keep your word or to keep it on time.
Yeah, so that's the formula, right? We're giving you a formula to honor your word, right? So if you keep your word, you are in essence also honoring it. So that's one way to honor your word, right? The example I gave last lab was I'm going to be Dylan. I'm going to be at your 50th birthday party at 4 o'clock on Sunday, like you invited, a little earlier than everybody else, right? The party starts at 4:30. Didn't be there, right? My mom gets in a car accident, right, at 1 o'clock on Sunday, right? Given I'm one of the primary caregivers of my mom, it would be wholly inappropriate for me to not be at the hospital with my mom right? Given the stand I am and the given commitments I've taken on, and be at Dylan's 50th birthday party at 4 o'clock on Sunday, right? I'm not going to keep that word. Not going to do it. I'm going to make that choice. But if I'm not going to keep it, when I'm not going to be keeping it, I'm going to tell Dylan that I'm not going to be keeping my word, right? I'm not going to, and either maybe I'm going to come late, Dylan, I'll be there at 7, or heck, she's hurt. I'm not going to be there at all, right? And C2C, this is the one most people forget, right? And it's perhaps the most critical component to actually restoring integrity. There's always an impact. There's always an impact when you don't keep your word and you don't honor your word, right? There's always an impact. If I don't get that report to Dylan, right? Dylan is counting on that report to be able to do Dylan's edit. Dylan can't do Dylan's edit, or Dylan's got to now work through dinner and ignore Dylan's kids to do the edit. Whatever that is, there's an impact. It may be little, it may be not a big deal to Dylan, but there is an impact. So in order to deal with the impact on Dylan, right? And I can imagine what that impact might be of me not getting there at 4 o'clock on Sunday in the other example. He probably feels disappointed, right? And I might ask. In addition, I might try and imagine what the impact might be, but I got to ask. What's the impact on you, Dylan, of me not being able to come? And what can I do to make it up to you? I have some ideas. Do you want to hear them, or do you have an idea? Right? Offer to make up for the impact on others of the failure to keep your word or to keep it on time. That's the formula. So now we promised you that we'd let you meet each other. We're going to send you to a breakout to sort of look. Some of you have looked at this, and some of you haven't, but you're going to look together. Okay, so here's what I want you to do. We're going to put you in breakouts, okay? And I'm going to give you some recommendations. Go back one slide. Okay. I'm going to make some recommendations about how to do this. You can take them or not. When you look in your life, if you haven't already, for an area that's kind of not working like you want, right? Now, you are going to share these with people, right? So you know, choose wisely. Choose, depending on your comfort in being able to share things that are personal in nature. You may not want to share the really, really prickly example of where life is not working. You might choose just kind of a little more innocuous example. It's up to you. But look where life isn't working like you want. And it's something you've been putting up for a while. Those are the best ones. Like, wow, it really hasn't been working for a while. Putting up with it, no power over it. Right? It's annoying. All right. My relationship with this person's annoying. The way I handle this thing is annoying. Whatever that is. And see if you can identify where the out integrity is. Where is a word not being honored? Where is a word given not being honored? Right? And really, it works best if you look at you. But I mean, if you can't see something in you, you might be able to see. Sometimes it's hard for the eyeballs to see themselves. But best if you can see, like, where have I given word that isn't being honored? Right? And those of you that had this assignment from last time, we gave you a bonus opportunity, which was actually use that formula to restore integrity in that area or with that thing or with that person, right? And come back and tell us what happened, right? So if you did the assignment, you can kind of share all of this, right? Or some new manifestation of it that you discovered. If you just look for the out integrity, right? At least you could do that if you haven't done the assignment yet. Right. And then we'll come back and we'll have a conversation about the yeah buts and the how abouts and the what ifs that come up. All right, go ahead, Dylan.
Okay, so we're gonna send you into randomized groups of 4. So it's 8 minutes. So roughly, try to somebody who loves to keep the train on time. 2 minutes a person. And if you were here last time, what did you discover? Or if you're here for the first time, as Khush
And you
just
happen to be in a group where everybody's here for the first time, we thought of that as like, oh, what if that happens? If that happens, or if you haven't, you can do the assignment there, your name, your program, and what you're most looking forward to at UCLA. You at least have that if there's nothing else to share.
All right, so it's 6:01. So we're gonna send you off into breakouts and we'll come back together in about 8 minutes. Enjoy the inquiry and meeting each other.
Back? Okay. All right, so I'm going to open up the floor to if you have some yeah buts or how abouts or what ifs that came up as you were looking. Any discoveries, any better yet, anyone actually and who took this on and restored integrity, right? Was able to actually like figure out like, oh yeah, I got to clean that up and try to clean it up. Tell us what happened. Opening it up. And here's, I know it's hard. There's 80 some people on here, and it's hard to be the first person, but the instructors to talk. But when it comes to leadership is a linguistic phenomenon. It's a relational phenomenon, and it happens. Hey Ben, it happens in dialogue. Even when you're leading yourself, you are actually in a dialogue with yourself. So I invite you to get it into dialogue, whatever you're sort of struggling with or whatever you've discovered. Yeah. It cements it in a particular way when you get it in dialogue, your discovery. What do you think? We have a brave soul, a yeah, but a how about, a what if, or a report on something they discovered when looking at integrity in this simple yet somehow challenging way.
Yeah, I don't mind going first, or giving
Please.
an example.
Hold on, where
So,
are? Let me find you. No, I want to look at you. Where are you? Put your electronic hand up, and that. If you know how to do that, and that'll just.
Yeah, the hand raise.
Yeah,
Yep,
the hand. Yes.
Where is it? I'm not.
You have to go to
David.
React. I know they moved it. Now there's a heart where it.
Oh yes, now I see
There.
it.
There we
There
go,
you
David. Thank you.
Hey, David. Thank you. There you are. All right.
Awesome. All right, I'll lower it once I'm done. Yeah. So definitely coming to the first lab was helpful. I shared with the group that I was in related to how working in a cross-functional team, there's a level of, that item 3, that expectations where others request. And there's a additional group member that's typically just wants dates, right? When will this be ready? When will this be ready? And I had to go back to my team and kind of get those dates together. But there was a team member that was going to be out that week when we're planning on providing the dates on that Tuesday coming back from the Memorial Day holiday. So to that point, the honoring your word, yes, we would get you the dates by Tuesday. That team member mentioned, I will be out. I have my son's graduation. So again, was able to quickly follow up with that individual, the ORPs, to mention quickly why that date can't be met, and then shifting it a bit to say we can provide the first half of the dates because one of the team members is here, but the other half of the dates will have to be provided the following week in the same time frame. So that was helpful. So I would say being on that first lab, was able to utilize those tools to still honor my word.
Yeah. And you're not a bad, you can't keep your word, and you're not a bad person if you can't keep your word. Right? We get caught up with like, oh, now I'm a bad person. And when the minute you go to there, right? It's really all downhill, right? Because what happens is when we think we're bad, we want to do what? We want to hide, right? Oh, we got to now hide that we're bad, right? And we lose the very opportunity we have to restore integrity, which is like, oh, I'm not gonna, hey, I'm not gonna keep it. I'll do it later, right? Because we're like, oh, I'm a bad person.
And
No,
I would admit what you're stating there was definitely the case, right? Right
Yeah.
before I was like, wait, this person's not here. This person's hounding me for these dates. I'm like, okay, just go back to that lesson, and that was very helpful.
Right?
So that's true.
Great. Music to my ears, David. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for taking on the homework, David.
Yeah.
Right?
David, was there an experience of something that was distinct or different, would you say? It was for yourself or for others?
Yeah, I would definitely say yes, because part of the piece that came up there was it wasn't just myself that was involved, right? There were multiple parties. So I did have another team member to now where I had to have that open conversation related to, we're being asked for these dates. He was feeling rushed, and I was mentioned to him, again, my expectations is not for you to get it completed within the next hour or 2 hours. Let's work through that to bring down that level to where he felt also uncomfortable. So again, that experience was, it's okay to be able to, look at your word and have that integrity to say, I will have a conversation instead of just hiding behind, well, I don't really have to answer you because we're in different groups, and the worst you can do is complain again to a program manager. What's that going to do to me? Nothing, right? But in this case, like you said, restore that integrity. So there was an experience.
Yeah, and it's a workable relationship. You got through those unexpressed requests. We got them explicit. Now your relationship is that much more workable. Really great. Hey, brilliant. Thank you. Who else? Who else would like to have a conversation?
I can go.
Shakti, please.
Oh,
Oh.
would you like to go first?
It's up to you. Go ahead. That's fine.
You sure? All right. I'll be quick.
All right, Christina, you're next.
Sounds good. So my one area where I didn't even have integrity with myself, and what this kind of involves the Anderson, the FEMBA program, and their career workshop. So the first career workshop I had signed up for was the June 8th one this week, and then I also realized that I have an international flight 2 hours after the workshop ends, and I was thought to myself, I'm like, I have to be honest with myself, but it's going to be rushed, and during the whole workshop, I won't be stressing out about the flight. It just didn't make sense. There's two other workshop dates available. Let me postpone it, and I decided to move to July 13th. But I had realized that I wouldn't be doing myself justice or the career workshop itself justice by being stressed out and rushing through it.
Yeah, because that's something you know to do. That'd be out of integrity, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what did you do? So how did you end up working that out?
I just emailed the FEMBA team, and someone, Mar, I believe his name was, got in touch with me. He's like, yeah, no problem. We can change it quickly. If you have any issues, you need to again. They reached out to me, so I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and now the one thing I would add, right? Like next time one of these comes up, when you're having an email like that with somebody like Mar, right? Mm-hmm. And you may have done this, you may just not have shared it yet. Is there any fallout, right? Is there any fallout for you, mm-hmm. right? Or anyone else based on mine having to switch the date, mm-hmm. that I can help make up for? Right? Okay. Adding that in, and then often folks are just so surprised somebody's asked. Like it mm-hmm. makes you a different kind of human being. Like, wow, mm-hmm. like this person actually asked me to clean up the mess that always gets created. Nobody does that, right? Mm-hmm. And most of the time they just go, no, I'm good. Like there's nothing, right? And then it's complete. Right? When something's just complete, then it doesn't keep coming back to haunt you. Yeah. So just next time, think about like adding that in. The other thing I like that you did is, see, it's the moment you know you're not going to be able to keep your word, right? We're often late, or we know we're late. We're earlier than when we kind of really admit we're late, right? We do these like, okay, I think I'm going to be late, but maybe I'll just be 1 minute late and I'll sneak in from the back and I'll be real quiet and maybe nobody will see. And then I'll participate extra because, now we have to make up for, right? There's this whole side, but it's, oh, okay. I just saw I'm not going to make it. All right. I'm going to put what I'm doing aside or make a really upcoming occasion to send this email. Right. Like if I'm, I know I'm late, probably like the second I hit the snooze button. I know, like that's when you know, right? We know when that's when you send the text like, hey, I overslept, didn't organize my morning well. I could be 10 minutes late or less, but I want you to know so you can manage yourself, right? So that's what I like about what you did is when you realized it, you made the communication. You didn't sort of like hem and haw and hope they didn't catch you, wait for them to say something, any of that.
Yeah, and I didn't want to send it out today when the event's in 2 days.
Yeah. That's it. It's simple, right? We just get all tied up in knots when it confronts us, and we'll share a little bit about why that happens. Thank you, Shakti.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Christina, please go ahead.
I guess for me, after the last session, one of the things that stuck out to me the most was trying not to commit yourself to something you're not going to be able to make. And that is very, very difficult for me because I have multiple businesses, and also one is very, very client-based, dealing with getting contracts out and working with clients. So I've worked really hard to try to do it, but now I've learned to catch myself when I'm giving a deadline that I know I can't meet, and realizing that I don't have to be superwoman. I don't have to meet these deadlines in like 48 hours, knowing that I have multiple clients. So what I've been doing is cleaning up the messes that I've made with already giving those deadlines by saying, hey, I'm working on it. Here's an update on the status of where I am and what I need in order to complete it. Sorry for any inconvenience, and let me know if there are any questions. But knowing also, especially that school starts in 100 days, roughly, that I have to make a change so that I'm not stretching myself out, so I can, if I'm not walking in integrity at this moment, that by the time school starts, I have a better habit of doing it.
Look, I mean, we should all be taking a page out of Christina's book here, right? It takes a big person who's always somehow made it work. I mean, look, Christina, you didn't make it into the FEMBA program at UCLA because you weren't somebody that took on a lot of things at once, right? Like, so it's almost like you're that's the kind of person, right? That does get into grad school, but then you have to face something, right? You have to face some, and the tricky thing is, or the unexpected thing is, wow, I'm more of a leader when I say I'm not gonna do something, right? So say a little bit to me about like what was that like? How did people react? Like
when it comes to my clients, they trust me a lot. So they've been very, very understanding. And one of the situations is we have a deadline with a case going on. So the motions and things of that nature have taken forever to be able to do. So that pushes everything else behind. So most of my clients know at the beginning, I am a solo practitioner. I do things by myself. So they are very understanding, and they love the fact that I explain everything to them as to where I am versus just not communicating that I'm behind. So if I know I'm not going to make a deadline, usually I'm trying and busting my behind to make it. But if I know I'm not going to make it, I'm sending the update email like, hey, I know that you were expecting this right now. Here are some obstacles that I faced. I will get this to you by this time. And they tend to be okay with that. So I haven't had too much backlash, but it's just something I personally want to do better because I preach integrity and walk in this walk. I hate when people are late and things of that nature. So I don't want to be a hypocrite of my own actual values.
Yeah, really great, Christine. Now a little advanced tip, right here, because we're in this conversation together, and I see myself, like, you know, I see myself in that. You can't make people wrong for being late, right? Because it's not a normative phenomenon. It just is, right? They're either they have integrity or they don't, right? They're not bad people, right? Or good people if they have a lot of integrity. They've got the level of workability they have in their life that they have, right? And if they have a little more integrity, they'll have a little more workability. That's up to them, right? And they're struggling with the same thing we're all struggling with, this mountain that has no top, right? So because when you the slippery slope with making other people wrong for being out of integrity is we'll start to make ourselves wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just a little something to consider.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. All right. Do we have any more hands?
Well, Khush, I know we got a timeline, but if we could
Okay.
squeeze him in, he had his hand up and he put it down, but Swarab is logging in from Mumbai where it's 5:30 in the morning.
Hey, that's where I was born. Let's do it.
Hello.
Hi,
Hello, good
Saurabh.
morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. So happy to be a part of this call. Thank you so much, Dylan, for pointing me out. Really appreciate that. So coming to the point which we are discussing today, there were certain issues which I used to face when communicating about the impact of me not being able to kind of deliver or commit something, which I already have been. So what the kind of issue I used to face was that I used to at times take for granted that my manager will be okay with me not delivering my what do you say my delivery at the given time. So I used to kind of take this thing for granted, knowing the fact that he knows that Saurabh will be able to deliver it in some course of time. So later onwards, what I kind of started doing was that I kind of told him like upfront that there are certain possible reasons because of which I will not be able to deliver this on time. And instead of just mentioning that I have some kind of personal exigencies because of which I will not be able to deliver, what I rather did was I kind of made myself a bit more vulnerable. By being vulnerable, I mean I told him that these are the particular things which I need to look into. These are the things which need my immediate attention. And that is the reason why I will not be able to commit what I had already, told you before. So by doing this, what I observed was that I was able to gain more of his trust because I kind of opened myself up to him. And because I opened myself up to him, I also realized that if I'm being honest about anything I uptake, even if I'm not able to do it on time, and I'm honest about it, uh, my seniors will trust me and they will always be happy to know about my reasons on why I'm not able to, deliver something not in time. So
Yeah,
that is
isn't that
something which I realized over a period of time. I mean, over this period of 1 week.
yeah, it's the funniest thing, right? Like it reflects sort of what Christina was saying. Wait, I'm telling you, I'm not going to be able to do something, right? Because I'm faced with this, that, and the other, and trust me more.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And that's the counterintuitive piece of this, right? That you don't experience until you actually start to try it. And then you go, wow, like I'm actually, people see me as more of a leader. They trust me more. They rely on me more when I am honest. And I'm going to slide in the word because you gave me such a good segue. Sorry, but I mean, you couldn't have done it better if I paid you. Authentic.
Yes.
Right? So
Yes.
I'm gonna grab that segue that you've given me, Saurabh, and we're gonna move into what you're pointing to,
Thank you
which
so much,
is
Khush. That's great. Yes.
we're now gonna look, they're connected. Authenticity and integrity are very connected. And you saw how in Saurabh's example, how they're connected. So let's go into authenticity, Dylan.
The power of authenticity.
Go ahead.
All right. Being a leader in the effective exercise of leadership, an ontological phenomenological model. 1, the foundation. 2, authenticity. The second of the 4 factors that constitute the foundation for leader and leadership. Being authentic. Being and acting consistent with who you hold yourself out to be for others and who you hold yourself to be for yourself.
Okay, so leave it up, Dylan. Being and acting consistent, right? So being, that's one thing, and acting consistent with who you hold yourself out to be for others, right? You do hold yourself out to be some way for others, right? So being and acting consistent with that, and being and acting consistent with who you hold yourself out to be for yourself. You hold yourself a particular way, right? And it's almost more painful, right, when we're inauthentic with ourselves than with others. Okay, so foundation, just like integrity, you're not a leader yet if you've got these foundational factors, but you've got the foundation, right? And turns out the foundation for being a decent leader is a foundation for being a decent human being, right? These are also foundational factors for being a decent human being. Go ahead, Dylan.
A word about values and why in this course we care about authenticity. This course is about being a leader and exercising leadership effectively. It is not about what is good or bad or right or wrong, and it is not a discussion of ethics or morality. That is to say, it is not an examination of anything normative.
Yeah, so this is the thing I was pointing to with Christina. That you can't. It's not. It's a positive phenomenon. It just is. Like, when we say I posit, it just is. It's a positive phenomenon. It's not normative. There's not the good part of the continuum and the bad part of the continuum. It's kind of like, and so integrity's like this, authenticity's like this in our model. Yeah, have enough of it or you don't. The rest, you're making up some story about it. You either have it or you don't, enough of it to get done what you need to get done, right? Like so gravity, you need to be able to master gravity to function optimally on this planet, right? We don't get mad at gravity, but it just is. You have to count for it. Authenticity. If you want to be a leader, it just is. Be a person of integrity. Be authentic. Go ahead.
We are not concerned in this course with authenticity being right or good, or with inauthenticity being wrong or bad. In this course, we are only concerned with the fact that being authentic is required for being a leader and being able to exercise leadership effectively. It is for that reason we deal with authenticity in this course on being a leader.
So, and this, when he says this course, he means the summer course that I was talking about. These are slides right out of there. All right, go ahead, Dylan.
What it means to be authentic. Being authentic is being and acting consistent with who you hold yourself out to be for others, including who you allow others to hold you to be, and who you hold yourself to be for yourself. While this is fairly obvious, what is very much less obvious is the path to authenticity. The path to authenticity is being authentic about your inauthenticities.
And if you're, anything like me, when the first time you hear, what? Say, come again? Well, you say that read again that the path to authenticity is being authentic about your inauthenticities. Wait, are you saying that I'm supposed to say where I'm being inauthentic and then people gonna think I'm authentic? Go ahead, Dylan.
You will remember that one of the conditions for realizing what we are promising you from your participation in this course is to be willing to discover and confront your inauthenticities and being willing to be authentic about your inauthenticities.
Okay, so and when just a little about what we are promising from your participation in this course. So we don't mean promising you in your participation in these leadership labs. What is one of the really unique things about the course is it's the only college course that I teach where I actually make a promise of an outcome. Like I actually make a guarantee that if you do the work, show up, fulfill the course agreements, that you will leave this course being a leader and exercising leadership effectively as your natural self-expression. Period. Guaranteed. Right? It's kind of outrageous that I'm making that promise to however 50 people, 80 people, right? So that's the promise this is pointing to. If we are promising from your participation in the course, right, we're promising you'll leave being a leader, you got to be willing to discover and confront your inauthenticities. All right? Go ahead, Dylan.
Are you being authentic? Most of us think of ourselves as being authentic. However, each of us in certain situations and each of us in certain ways is consistently inauthentic. And because we avoid at all costs confronting our inauthenticities, we are consistently inauthentic about being inauthentic, not only with others, but with ourselves as well. The point is, you are inauthentic and you don't know that you are inauthentic. That's called fooling yourself about fooling yourself. And that's truly foolish.
Yeah, so we're all liars is a shortcut way to say it. Right? To be human is to be inauthentic. Right? We are these pack animals that coexist, and our relationships to our groups, right, ensure our survival. Right? We're hardwired to want to look good. Keep going, Dylan.
On the subject of our inauthenticity, the late Harvard professor Chris Argyris, after 40 years of studying us human beings, said, put simply, people consistently act inconsistently, unaware of the contradiction between their espoused theory and their theory in use, between the way they think they are acting and the way they really act.
Pretending to be some way you are not actually being, right? No, I'm not mad. I'm not mad. Not mad. Hiding what you actually think or feel is a common example of being inauthentic. Well, do it. Inauthenticity can be thought of covering up what is actually going on for you or with you, covering up something that happened or didn't happen in your life, or thought of as a facade or a face you put on. Right? Think of it that way. Right? There's something in here about being natural, right? And freeing leaders up to be naturally taking the most appropriate actions given the situations they're in. When we distinguish our inauthenticities, we get a particular kind of access to being natural. Right? What has people be unnatural is when they're inauthentic. Go ahead, Dylan.
Examples of our inauthenticities. We all want to be admired, and almost none of us, is willing to confront just how much we want to be admired and how readily we will fudge on being straightforward and completely honest in a situation where we perceive doing so threatens us with a loss of admiration. Admiration is the highest coin in the realm. We will do anything to be admired, and the loss of authenticity seems a small price to pay, especially when you don't even notice that you are being inauthentic. And even if you did, are unaware that being inauthentic costs you being whole and complete as a person.
Yeah, we're addicted to being admired. And it's just it's the nature of being human, like I pointed out, right? And when we are unaware of this admiration, this need for admiration that runs us, right? That's when we're not authentic about our inauthenticity, and it really does cost us the integrity. It costs us our integrity. All right? The way to be admired is just forget about it. Just serve people. All right? Admiration isn't bad. It's just like when it becomes air to a bird or water to a fish. All right? That's when it has a grip. That's when there's an urge for inauthenticity more. Go ahead, Dylan.
We also all want to be seen by our colleagues as being loyal, protesting that loyalty is a virtue even in situations where the truth is that we are acting loyal solely to avoid the loss of admiration. And in such situations, how ready we are to sacrifice our authenticity to maintain the pretense of being loyal, when the truth is that we are being loyal only because we fear losing the admiration of our colleagues.
So loyalty can include not calling people on their nonsense, right? Like you don't call that, or they can't handle it, right? You have to ask yourself in those situations, what are you being loyal to? Are you being loyal to somebody's bigness or somebody's smallness? Well, I can't say that thing because, and it becomes this, you don't call me on my stuff, I don't call you on your stuff. If I don't call you on it, then there should be a contribution to me. So that's why we're putting this up on the mat here, that you'll find that without integrity, right, and the authenticity associated with it, an extraordinary leader, right, is really out of reach. Right? And loyalty, but you really have to look when are you being inauthentic, right? Out of loyalty, ask yourself, what am I really being loyal to here? Go ahead.
In addition, most of us have a pathetic need for looking good, and almost none of us is willing to confront just how much we care about looking good, even to the extent of the silliness of pretending to have followed and understood something when we haven't. And by the way, looking good does not look good.
Yeah, I mean, we've all done that, right? Like, I'll look it up later. Yeah, or oops, I stopped listening, but I'm gonna look like I was listening. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Dylan. And when somebody's doing that with you, right? Our brains know, right? And other people's brain, while they may not be, it may be below the level of consciousness, like we pick that up in each other. Right? And we don't follow people we don't quite trust. We can't put my finger on it, right? Yeah. Go ahead, Dylan.
Just the threat of looking bad, wrong, stupid, irrational, naive, silly, etc., for most of us destroys even the possibility of being authentic. The need to avoid the embarrassment or humiliation we imagine to be the result of looking bad leaves us defensive, posturing, or petulant, childishly sulking, or bad-tempered. And by the way, being defensive, posturing, or petulant does not look good.
By the way, some people's way of looking good is looking bad or like being stupid, right? Like there's a there's I had a colleague, you know, he's a colleague that as a you know, he's a class clown, right? As a, you know, that like that was how he looked good, right? That's how he got his admiration. Go ahead.
This being inauthentic about being wrong, etc., like any inauthenticity, costs us the power required to be a leader and to exercise leadership effectively. If you're going to be a leader, you need the courage to be straight when you're wrong, stupid, irrational, naive, silly, etc. And you will be.
And I remember we said, and at the first leadership lab, we said, and I'm going to bring it back here. When do you need leadership? You need leadership when there's no answer, no agreement, no precedent, lots of conflict. We don't know what to do, right? We need a new future. The future we're living into, it's not working, right? That's when you need leadership. If you've got an answer, a plan, you need management to competently manage the objectives to completion, right? So in these situations, right, when there's no agreement, no precedent, right, inauthenticity is going to cost you the power required to be a leader and exercise leadership effectively in those situations. And until, you know, and we in the course, we really get people sort of to the brink of like looking over the cliff and confronting how much we will do to look good, like what we will sacrifice to look good or to not look bad, right? The same, trying not to look bad is just like looking good. Go ahead, Dylan.
Each of us is inauthentic in certain ways. While this may sound like a description of this or that person you know, it actually describes each person in this room, including your instructors. We are all guilty of being small in these ways. It comes with being human. Great leaders are noteworthy in having come to grips with these foibles of being human, not eliminating them, but being the master of these weaknesses when they are leading. If you don't recognize being inauthentic when you are, and if you are not willing to confront that you are being inauthentic, you have no chance of being authentic. Quoting former Medtronic CEO and now Harvard Business School professor of leadership, Bill George, after years of studying leaders and their traits, I believe that leadership begins and ends with authenticity. Being authentic is critical to being a leader. Inauthenticity is one of the barriers to being a leader and to the effective exercise of leadership. However, attempting to be authentic on top of your inauthenticities is like putting cake frosting on cow dung, thinking that that will make the cow dung go down well.
Yeah, like that's kind of what it's like when we do that, right? So that's when sincerity shows up, right? Like I'm not gonna be authentic about my inauthenticities, right? I'm just gonna be authentic on top of them. Go ahead.
In this course, you will have the opportunity to recognize your inauthenticities. While you won't like seeing them, by distinguishing these weaknesses in yourself, you will give yourself a powerful opportunity to be authentic about your inauthenticities. The pathway to authenticity.
Yeah. If you can get, you know, like you can start to practice taking the significance out of your addiction to looking good. Like, oh, okay, like, oh, look, there I go. There, oh, did it again. Oh, there it is again. There's that thing I do. Okay. When you can take the significance out of the addiction that we all have, right? It no longer owns you. It's still there, but it no longer shapes your being and action. You master it. Like you have it. It doesn't have you, right? How do you do it? Only way I know, make it public. That's like, okay, if you're embarrassed about it, make it public. No longer owns you. Now it takes some practice and training. It loosens the grip. Go ahead, Dylan.
Right in this classroom, you may catch yourself being limited in your ability to perform, or even just plain stuck out of the fear of the loss of admiration, the fear of being accused of being disloyal, or the fear of looking bad. Such fear may result in the stuckness of something as silly as stopping you from raising your hand to be called on. Welcome such insights. You will benefit from them.
Yeah, they're your access to being a leader, in fact. Yay! Right, this should be good news. Hey, wait a minute, inauthenticity is my access to being a leader. I got so much of it. I'm in great shape. Yeah. All right. Where are we? Go ahead, Dylan.
All right, breakout room assignment, about 10 minutes. In your breakout room, you'll be in groups of 4. Look for areas where you see inauthenticity at play in your life. These would be instances where you are not being and acting consistent with who you hold yourself out to be.
Yeah.
Share the inauthenticity and the fear that might be behind it, such as the fear of the loss of admiration, the fear of being accused of being disloyal, or the fear of looking bad. Being authentic is being and acting consistent with who you hold yourself out to be for others, including who you allow others to hold you to be, and who you hold yourself to be for yourself.
I recommend try not to make it significant. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, there, okay, I can see it. Yeah. All right. Try it out. Be authentic about your inauthenticities.
All right, we're going to pause the recording.
Is everybody back?
We're
back.
Yeah, I think we are back. Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm gonna before we go into the next bit here, there's we're gonna open it up for discussion, right? Like we did after the last breakout. Any yeah buts, how abouts, what ifs? What did you discover that might have surprised you, or made you chuckle? But before we do that, I wanna address one of the questions in the chat about integrity. So thank you, Sean. It's a great question, and it actually comes up a lot when we do the course. So Sean asked, so what about someone who like just doesn't over and over and over, right? You don't compare the, oh, sorry, wasn't able to do it. I'll do it again. There is a sort of category where of states or people where you can be a person of integrity and not trustworthy. Right? So you can be wholly reliable for being untrustworthy. Right? So you are in integrity, technically, right? But you're not trustworthy. And this is about leadership, right? This is not about a medal for being authentic or like having integrity. Right? Nobody's going to follow you then either. Right? So if you're there, it is possible to be a person of integrity, right? But not trustworthy, and that doesn't work either, ultimately, when push comes to shove on the court of leadership. But you can say that you are a person of integrity. Remember I said you can have integrity, you're not a leader yet. It's the foundation. Yeah, so it does come up a lot. I have a friend who actually has her automatic reply come when you send her an email saying she doesn't really check her email and we shouldn't expect a reply. I mean, I know what to expect, right? But I'm not gonna, like enter into significant transactions with that person. Yeah. So yes, and like to the degree, the other thing you say, Sean, about like you're thinking that not keeping your word should be reserved for like you really should be of last resort, is what I'm hearing in your question, like not keeping your word. Ultimately, after a lot of practice and climbing this mountain, we say integrity is a mountain with no top. You got to just learn to love the climb because the view's better up higher. Quality of life improves a little bit higher. What I find is that folks start to get really, really good at doing the cost benefit analyses before giving their word. Right. So the likelihood that they're going to keep their word just goes way up because they're really only giving it when they're pretty confident they can keep it. Right? So that's what I notice happens after a while. But I know it's counterintuitive, but if you hold keeping your word, right, like better than honoring your word, right, something counterintuitive happens and you actually end up not like being out of integrity a lot. Right? So again, you got to go check it out, right, with this stuff. It's a great question and it comes up a lot. Okay, so anything for anyone on this authenticity business? Discoveries, any yeah buts, how buts, what ifs, questions? Or if there's anything from anything else too. Yes, Jason. Please go ahead.
Actually, one of the other people in our group kind of prompted this when we were chatting, but one thing that I feel like, so I oftentimes at work I do a lot of like hiring and negotiating schedules with people and stuff. And I oftentimes this is like a small thing, but like one of the secret sauces for me to actually like land projects on time is that I oftentimes build in buffer. And I definitely have like noticed in the past when people have brought me onto jobs and they'll be like, we only have a month to bring you on. We need to complete this in a month. And then we hit a month and they're like, oh, we have like another week. And I'm like, and that's a tricky one for me because I'm like, it actually is kind of like what's made me be able to like land a lot of projects on time, but it is kind of inauthentic to people. And so I think there is a way to do it where you can be more authentic with them instead of being like, we literally only have 1 month. And then you hit a month and they're like, wait, why do you have 5 more days? I just broke my back to give it to you in a month, So.
Yeah. It's such a great question, right? We've all run it. So this is life happening, right? Like life happens like this. And so, and Jason, you said something that actually for me was authentic, which is like, look, it's part of my secret sauce. I build in buffers. That's how I land things on time, right? If people know that about you, then then they know you're building in buffers. I don't know that you'd need to say, I have now built in a buffer of 2.7 days on this one, right? No, but folks can look, there's probably some buffering in there. That's how Jason's able to produce what he's able to produce, right? There's no funny business. Right? And if we don't want him to do it, right, we should tell him not to do it and let's have a negotiation about it then. So that's kind of where I go with it, right? Like they're like that's expected of you. What do you think?
I like it. It's like it's a way to be kind of like more upfront with them, and I think it's also like avoiding some of the really specific words, which is like, this is like hard stuff. Like I don't know, that's what producers always said to me when I was like getting hired. This is hard stop. Literally, the last date we have to have it. But it's like be like, no, this is our goal, something like
Yeah.
that, which is,
Yeah, and
gives
I
more
would
left.
assert, Jason, when push came to shove, I don't think people will follow them. The ones that are, because ultimately you're like, really? Like you can't set it, like you're wrong about the deadline every time?
Yeah, seriously.
Like, do you really know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Like then it couldn't go there. Like either way, not a lot of leadership now opportunities. Like their opportunity set to lead shrinks.
Totally.
Yeah. Great. Really great. Thank you, Jason. Anything else? No? All right.
Not for me.
Sean. Oh, Sean, who wrote the, yeah, it's helpful if we talk sometimes because and hypothetical scenarios are tough. So please go ahead.
Yeah, I think one discussion that came up was, not only how to be an authentic person, but how do we be an authentic team? And so thinking about, our successes that we happen within our careers, it doesn't happen in a box, it happens within that team. And I think one thing that I think has helped in developing that culture of being an authentic team is for those leaders as part of that team is to recognize and to, like you said, I loved how you said, just state it, just put it out there. I don't know everything, guys. I don't know all the solutions. That's why we have a team, and together we can get there. And so to me, I think a part of authenticity, almost that first step forward, becomes showing vulnerability, like as a leader, and recognizing that you are a leader, that you don't know everything, and that you need your team in order to get to the facts, really to get to the bottom of things so that we can be successful. Because let's be honest, I mean, we can all look great, we can all be inauthentic, we can all follow incorrect direction, and we can launch another analogy I've heard is a turd, but a really shiny turd.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think it's, if you find yourself in a team like that, to where everyone is being reserved, being inauthentic, I think it's that first step forward and saying, guys, I don't know everything. I'm interested in what the best solution is for us. And I think then you start building trust, you start building transparency, you start getting better ideas, you start getting a speak up culture, and you can really get the best solutions out as part of doing that. And so I think, not only thinking about how can we be authentic, what are the steps we can take to get there, and how do we make our entire team, and even beyond that, an organization that really values authenticity so that we can be successful.
I couldn't say it any better, right? Like yes. And particularly to underline, this works for teams and organizations too. Wait, like organizations have a word? Oh yeah, they do. In my world, in the social work word, that's our mission. Do we treat it like a word we gave, right? And when an organization doesn't keep its word, right, externally and internally, performance suffers. Ultimately, it gets eroded, right? And it applies to teams and organizations just as it does with individuals. Really great, John. Thank you so much. Jasmine, please go ahead.
Great. So something we discussed within my group was, I guess, the level of authenticity. Like, how authentic do you have to be authentic enough? It could be something as being honest. Like, is it being too brutally honest? Is that too authentic? Is there a level to it? Another example we used in our group was job interviews. They want you to be authentic. They want to know the real you, but how authentic can you be where it's like too much and they're like, okay, that was way too much. Is there like a spectrum or a level of how much we can be, or is it ever going to be enough?
Yeah, so so there's a really great another a pitfall, right, that happens with this is when we collapse honesty and authenticity. Right? They're distinct, right? So and once I say that, I bet you can start to hear like, wait. So what we're saying is your authenticity is being and acting consistent with who you hold yourself out to be to others and who you hold yourself out to be to yourself, right? Honesty is telling the truth or say like what's up. So I do lie to my children about Santa Claus. I do. And I'm not, like, I'm not even Christian. But it's a fun tradition. Right? Come on. Like, does that make me an inauthentic person? No. Right. So they're distinct, right? And the collapse, if you think you've got to be honest all the time to be authentic, there are times where they're authentic people that aren't honest. Right? So that's one thing. Now, you can be authentic without oversharing. It's not oversharing either, right? That's another pitfall. So in a job interview, for instance, like if I were having an issue then and there I am in the interview with you, Jasmine, you're interviewing me, right? And now I'm like, oh, well, there's this thing I kind of don't want to say, but should I say it or should I not? I don't, I might say something like, like I'm having a little conversation with myself about this situation, which I'm a little hesitant to share with you. All right, because it might be a little bit of oversharing, right? But I think it's applicable, so I'm going to give it a shot, right? And I ask for some grace if it does end up being a little on the, TMI, too much information, right? See, so now, like, I've inoculated the situation in some way. I'm still authentic, right? And if they're catching my hesitation, like if they're mirror neurons, and we go into this in this mechanism, but if they're catching weirdness, I've named it, right? And there's nothing between us. Unspoken, like, she's being weird now. What's she hiding? What's she saying? Yeah. So that's how I'd answer that. I hope that helps, Jasmine. Does it?
It does, yeah. It definitely puts into perspective the separation between honesty and authenticity.
Yeah, I mean, and you can say, like, listen, I'm not saying everything I want that's on my mind right now because I don't feel safe saying it. That's authentic.
Yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then folks can, but you talked straight about what it was for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. People trust people who say how it is for them. Mm. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jasmine.
Thank you.
All right. Do you see any other hands, Dylan?
I do not.
Okay. Are we ready for our bonus?
We're going to squeeze in a little bonus distinction. All right. Here we go.
Yeah, I think we can do it. Okay, so we're going to give you we weren't, this was depending we had time or not. Can we give them a third foundation? I think we can. Go ahead, Dylan.
Foundation number 3, being given being an action by something bigger than yourself. The third of the 4 factors that constitute the foundation for leader and leadership. Being given being an action by something bigger than oneself. Source of the serene passion required to lead and to develop others as leaders, and the source of persistence when the path gets tough.
And it is a little bit of a mouthful. Being given being an action by something bigger than oneself, right? Your being and your action is given by something bigger than yourself. Go ahead.
All true leaders are heroes. Heroes are ordinary people who are given being an action by something bigger than themselves. Does whatever your life is about, and whatever your career or schooling is about, and whatever your relationships are about, need to be bigger than the way you wound up being? What is your life about? And what is your career or schooling about? And what are your relations about, really? Remember, all true leaders are heroes, and heroes are ordinary people who are given being and action by something bigger than the way they wound up being.
Okay, so it's a lot in here, and it's a lot of new stuff we threw at you. Okay, well, what's this wound up being business, Khush? Right? Okay. I want you to really quickly. We're going to do something. Get something to write or type, or like a note on your phone, or okay. And I want you to write 3 things that you are. Right. So for me, I would write, I am hardworking. I am anxious. I am persistent. Okay. Right. So whatever it is, and if you write fast, you can do more than 3, but at least have 3. I'll give you a few seconds. Give me some ams. I am blah blah blah. Okay. All right. So hopefully you have at least 1, yeah, and some of you have 3. Okay. So now I want you to do the following. Write it out, just like you wrote. Hopefully you wrote out, I am, well, now I want you to write the same thing, same 3 things, but instead of I am in front of them, I want you to write, I wound up being, ... I wound up being, ... Okay, write it down. And once you've done that, kind of look at the I am that thing, and then look at the I wound up being that thing, right? And see if you can sort of ascertain a sort of just like see how they're contrasting from each other. Anybody see anything?
There were choices.
Say more, Ty.
So it wasn't something that I wasn't born that way. I, became that way, or became what I wrote down. So it took some effort.
Yeah. So what's the good news in there? Anybody have anybody sort of smelling the good news in that shift? It's not. What do you think, Ty? Go ahead. Go ahead.
I mean, I think that you can choose to do anything. Yeah. You just have to make up your mind and do it. So that's the good news, is that you're capable of a lot.
Yeah, there's freedom. You're not stuck like you wound up being that way, right? You could wind up being another way, right? Might take something, right? But we're not rocks, and the people we relate with are not rocks either. They wound up being that way too, whatever way they are that probably annoys you. Right? They're not that way. They just wound up being that way in this situation with you. Yeah. So go ahead, Dylan, put back up. Right. So now, right, remember, all true leaders are heroes, and heroes are ordinary people like you and me who wake up in the morning and, brush their teeth and fight with their spouses sometimes and leave their socks on the floor and all, right? Ordinary people who are being given being and action by something bigger than the way they wound up being. Right? Because the way they wound up being, right, wasn't sufficient for what they needed to accomplish. Right? Go ahead.
Our great
right.
leaders.
Well, one more thing about that, right? If you, this is a point I want, if you are already extraordinarily endowed, right, it's going to be very difficult for you to be hero. There's like, keep with your basketball analogy, Daniel and Dylan. They're missing a basketball game, y'all. Some of you of you are too. In basketball, if you're slam dunks, if you're 8 feet tall, the dunks are not heroic. Yeah. Go ahead. They're heroic when you're 5'6". Yeah.
Are great leaders extraordinary people? We learn about great leaders after they have gotten there. And after they have gotten there, they appear to be extraordinary people. However, when the whole story is told, every great leader was an ordinary person who was given being in action by something bigger than themselves. To assume that great leaders started out extraordinary is to demean what it took for them to go beyond who they wound up being. More importantly, it conceals your access to being an extraordinary leader. If you think you need to be extraordinary to be a leader, that gives you no access to being a leader. The leaders you admire and respect are ordinary people. What makes them worthy of admiration and respect is that their being in action is given by something bigger than themselves, and that is what makes them extraordinary. The question is, how do you create your life being about something bigger than yourself?
Yeah, so here you are, right? UCLA is coming. It what's it all about? Right? Grad school, when it's the May and you got to write the 20-page paper and you're wondering why the heck you voluntarily signed yourself up for this at 3 a.m. one Wednesday morning, right? What is it all about? What is the contribution you want to make? It's a vision you have for the world, right? What are you going to do with this degree? Right? How are you going to create your life, your schooling, your graduate program, being something bigger than yourself? Okay, yeah, you get a promotion. Yeah, you make more money. Yeah. When push comes to shove, it's not going to be enough down the road. Right? Yeah. Go ahead.
Access to being a leader begins with leading yourself. In order to create your life and your career or schooling and your relationships to be about something bigger than yourself, you will need to begin the process by being ruthlessly honest with yourself regarding what your life and your career or schooling and your relationships are currently about, really about. And you will need to be ruthlessly honest about.
Hang on, Dylan.
Oh,
so but without making it significant, what's it been about? Okay, so it's been a little bit about me and a little bit about like looking good and a little bit about making more money. And okay, that's what it's been about. You're human. Welcome. Okay, now go, Dylan.
And you will need to be ruthlessly honest about your willingness to do the work to be bigger than the way you wound up being.
Yeah, that takes some ruthless honesty to do. Okay, that's been about. It takes a big person to say what's so and what it's been about. But Dylan, go ahead.
Leadership begins with leading yourself.
If you can't lead yourself, right, how you think you're going to lead anybody else into the abyss, the unknown, new futures, innovations that folks have never thought of? Right? You've got to be willing to do the work, right? And then people will do the work with you to walk into these futures that you're creating with your word that has integrity, that is authentic. So the question becomes, can you lead yourself? You there in your chair today, can you lead yourself to the most unrecognizable quarter term of education ever? Can you lead yourself there? That's the question we're leaving you with. Hey, Dylan, what else do we have? An invitation. So if you came on the last Leadership Lab 1 and you came again, right, might be an indication to us that you got something here. Right? And there's 45 hours of this that's available this summer, right? And, potentially next summer, right? It's never, courses are never guarantees. There's enough folks, we do them. If the, thing, but we're for sure doing it this summer. So we invite you to consider joining us, Dylan, or hey, if you can't join us, people in your lives, right? That can, and this is a course for students and the public. Dylan, what would you add?
I'm only expert with the executive and the fully employed MBA program students here. But for those program students, you're going to do your core curriculum in year 1, and then in years subsequent, you get to take electives. We've had students choose to do this as a bonus assignment, even before school starts, take an elective early, but it's an elective that has to do with how am I going to show up at grad school? So the invitation for everybody tonight, this is, very unreasonable. Wait a minute, you want me to take a class before school starts? No, I don't want you to do anything, but I invite you to consider it. Standing in, I want to leave a big fingerprint on this one and only life that I get to live. And these two folks are making a promise to me that I'll be a leader and exercise leadership effectively as my self-expression. That's our word. That's our word in the matter. I've been Khush's wingman for almost a decade. I'm the MBA dean following the social welfare professor around. Crazy odd couple, but we deliver that promise. So unreasonable, yes. Available, yes. So that's all I'd add. I invite you to consider it.
And then I think we've just got the details on the next slide for folks. Oh, and if you come, you'll see me, Dylan, and Jerry. Jerry Echevarria trains faculty all over the world to train this material. And the summer format allows us to invite her. She's one of the authors of the slide deck textbook. So we get to have the person with us that wrote the book, so to speak.
And just to throw a little love.
No, it's virtual. It's virtual, Aaron. All virtual. We have permission from Grad Division to stay virtual after the pandemic, after proving that the course had the quality it needed online.
And just to appreciate who Jerry is in the world, she's retired now, but at the time of her official retirement, after 40 years of education, she was the #2 officer for the California State University system, which is one of the largest university systems in the world, 23 campuses, 500,000 students. So she's quite an incredible human being. So and then just quickly on the details. So 9 sessions on Zoom, 8 a.m. to 1:30 p.m., Friday, Saturday, Sunday, over 3 weekends. The last weekend in June, the second and third weekend of July. The public tuition is $1,940. It might be a little bit less expensive because you already have a UID, but I don't have the answer for that yet. So there we are. And now, Khush, may we send them to their lives with a bonus assignment?
We may, and to basketball games everywhere. Yes. Yeah. Here's your assignment. Okay. Inquire into how you're going to create your life and your schooling to be about something bigger than yourself. Get that in place now. Have the parachute on your back now, right? Before you jump out the plane. And there are some prior assignments that if you didn't do them, you have the opportunity to do them. Looking in your life for areas that aren't working like you want and see where the out integrity might be. That's a really useful practice. When something's not working, hey, maybe integrity's out. Oh, wait, I don't have sufficient power. Let me see if I can go find some integrity. Yeah. And then talk to your accountability person about supporting you through the tough times of grad school. Like, who is it? Who's going to be your go-to person? Get the parachute on your back now.
You're going to have a flat tire. Who are you going to call? Is it your mom? Is it your sister? Is it your best friend? Ask them right now. Be authentic. Share from a place of integrity. I really want to be the best doctor I can be. I want to be the best nurse I can be. I want to be the best manager I can be. And I'm throwing my hat over the fence and I'm trusting UCLA. And I just know it's going to be tough. Ask for the help before you need the help. Dig the well before you're thirsty. Who's your person?
With that, I will declare this leadership lab complete. Lead yourself to the best term ever. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.